Shalom, first and foremost, all praise and glories unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Harchak Wadash, that belong to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone, and greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, hopefully elect. Shalom unto you. All right, and that's also the men, women, and children of these so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and the Israelite foreigners that go back to the ancient Israelites according to their father line that are scattered among the heathen that may even look like the heathen. Okay, important to say that. And as I say that, one of the clips I have a few clips here, and then a couple points to make about it, which we know this Ted Cruz, Senator of Texas, as well as Tucker Carlson's interview, and then I have a few other Tucker Carlson interviews, and you start to see how an interaction with the apostles years ago ties into some of these interviews, okay, and into some of the questions, because we're out there, we're really doing a number on the people, man. Because one thing you can't deny is prophecy. Another thing you can't deny is the perspective we're coming from and how we know this Bible through the Holy Spirit, okay? And it does come from an authoritative position, all right? And so I'm trying to think where I should start this at. Because they're kind of scattered and I got to organize them as I play them. But I think I'm going to start here with President Donald Trump. So fair use, fair use, fair use. This is not for, and I think he even made a statement when Donald Trump spoke to Tucker Carlson. Now I can't recall the exact part of the interview, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a couple of these. A bit time consuming, but hey, this is what it is. So, but I can't recall when he said it, so I'm going to play this clip instead. Okay, and we'll see where this goes. Okay, here we go.
It's a time for tremendous hope and joy and optimism and action. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
Okay, so now we understand who he was talking about, economists and so on and so forth. But they speak about the economists speaking like that in the Holy Scriptures in Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Okay, they look out the windows. I'll grab it. Ecclesiastes 12, okay, and 3, it says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low." Okay, that's talking about the economists that look out and see that America's heading to a really dark and terrible place. Okay, and that's what we understand the president was talking about. But also, we know that that's I don't want to say double entendre, but another reference of the prophets, the actual prophets. Okay, because we're talking about the same thing. Okay, and when you hear that conversation, okay, and you start to understand that he had, and I couldn't find it. I tried to look again and try to keep it as as quick as I could, but I don't even see the interview up, the full interview of Tucker Carlson speaking with Donald Trump. I think it was not the live version of it, but the one that they were behind closed doors. And I recall that there was something spoken about biblical prophecy, but for sure I have the Vladimir Putin question, and you wonder, what does these questions come from? Okay, where are these questions coming from that makes him want to ask these type of questions? Okay, well, let me get when Tucker Carlson comes across the apostles, the great millstone. Okay, here we go. Okay, I remember this way back when it happened. When it was posted by the apostles. Here we go. Excellent video. Let me show y'all. Okay, we posted with sound. Ex Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson visits GMS Hebrew Israelites on West 34th Street, New York. Okay, subscribe. I didn't even subscribe. I'm tripping. Subscribe, be edified. All right. Different page. I remember this video came out maybe a year ago. I'm on here live.
Taking that chip, the Most High is going to make it a way for the elect not to take it. He's going to protect the elect because it's all about the elect. We've been telling you, brothers, since we came on YouTube, it's all about the elect. I know you from somewhere, right? You're a news cancer. Yeah, he's from the news. What is it? You know about us. Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? What are you? Italian? Christian. Oh, really? What does the word Christian mean? Okay, good. He says someone who follows Christ. You're talking about the Christ in the Bible?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, what color is that Christ?
No idea.
No idea. So you don't read the Bible?
Yeah, I've read the whole thing, actually.
You read the whole Bible?
Yes, I did.
So then you would know the color of Christ.
I don't remember that being mentioned. I may have missed it.
Give me that. Since he missed it, we're going to refresh his memory. Since he read the whole Bible.
Revelation chapter 1, verse 13. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot.
That's John the Revelator seeing a vision of the Lord coming down from heaven.
Clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about the neck with the golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
Now go back to his ears.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
What does it mean by his head and his hairs were white like wool? What do you think? Okay, that's that. Well, he had gray hair.
Right, yeah.
You have young people. There's this girl I know I grew up with. At the age of like 23, she got a full head of gray hair,
Yeah, I've
white
seen
hair.
that. It's weird.
That's from peroxide.
Ministry is 30,
Hydrogen peroxide
30 years
coming
old.
through your system, like you. That's from peroxide. Okay? That's within your system. So it said he had white hair, but what else did it say?
Like wool.
Like wool. So it's talking about the texture of his hair. Who has woolly hair? You don't know who has woolly hair? Come on. Does this hair look? Hold on, wait on. This is the perfect example. Does this hair look woolly to you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what would you say when you read that all over again? Read it again.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
Meaning his head and his hairs, the hairs on his face because they wore beards because that was pursuant to the law, and the hair on the top of his head was also white and woolly. What people do you know on the planet Earth have woolly hair?
Africans.
Okay, good. So you're saying that the blacks in this country, the so-called Negroes, are you saying that they're Africans?
Descent. No, they're Americans, but so-called.
But are you saying that the so-called the Negroes, the African Americans,
Right.
all right, are you saying that they descend from Africa?
Yes.
Okay, now listen.
Egypt again.
This is Moses speaking to the children of Israel in the wilderness. And basically, when you read the whole chapter, the first 15 verses goes into the blessing that Israel will receive. All right? From the 16th verse to the end, it talks about the cursing that they will receive. So we're reading about the cursing. This is one of the main.
All right, and so this is part of it here. Okay, well, the apostles about 4 minutes in now, right? The apostles speaking with Tucker Carlson. Clearly him. He recognized him. He tried to act like it wasn't him, but we all knew his face. All right, but it's okay. So he's having an interaction. Okay, a full interaction with the apostles. Now let me skip ahead, get to a little bit more. Then I'm Lord, what I remember, put the link in the description.
Okay, what was your father? Was he Irish? Okay, so I guess he may be Irish, right?
He's not Irish.
Is he Jewish?
Swedish.
Well, you better hope that you're Israelite. But anyway, give me Isaiah 4.
And so this now puts a lot of the context that we see today and we've seen over the past few years start to be mingled in, if you will, sprinkled in to some of Tucker Carlson's interviews. Just because once you're hit by this information, whether you're an Israelite or a heathen, it doesn't matter. Once you get this information, you almost can't turn it off. Look at what the wacky tacky Christians are doing. Okay, they can't turn it off. You look at these other apologists and you know, and all these other different groups of so-called believers, and even just random street people. You know what I mean? Like that claim they don't believe or whatever else is going on. Different denominations of you know, whether it be Islam or whatever. Okay. Christian, or what's the other one? Mormonism, all of these. Okay. They can't deny the effect that the Hebrew Israelites have had on them. Okay. And the information that they've heard out of Hebrew Israelites. And yeah, some is good, you know, most has been bad. Okay. Talking about the different doctrines. Okay. We here at Great Millstone have a pure doctrine. Okay. And whether you like it or not, you're still affected by it. Whether you kiss our boot, you dumbass heathen, or you damn Edomite or whatever else, and without testing the spirit by the spirit, you know, trying the spirit by the spirit, or whatever else the case may be. But you can't deny that you've been affected by it. It appears to be the same truth about Tucker Carlson. So let me play this part.
Wait, but why am I going in this?
If you're a so-called white man, if your line goes back to the Edomites, do you know anything about Edom or Esau?
Yeah.
So what do you know about Edom or Esau?
Well, Esau.
He knows about Edom. How many surprises he knows about that?
Brother Esau? Jacob's brother?
Jacob's brother.
Yeah.
Okay, who are the descendants? Who are the descendants of Jacob?
I think the Jews, and then the Arabs were the descendants of Esau.
Are you talking about the white Jews?
There you go.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, we're the descendants of Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob was a black man. Abraham was black. All right? Isaac, his son, was black.
Right.
Rebecca was black. So if they were all black, what color did Jacob come out? He would come out as a black man.
Right.
Now, his brother Esau didn't come out as a black man. He came out as, I'll use this term, an albino. You see a black person that looks like a white person, they call him an albino. But guess what? White people are albinos too. You're an albino, okay?
You're depressing me.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, you gotta get ready, man. If you're an Edomite,
When is this going to happen?
very soon. It's happening now, as we talk. Go ahead.
Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land.
Because the first thing that you mentioned when I asked you your religion, you said Christian.
Right.
And I said, what does the word Christian mean? You said follow Christ. So bring me here to the book of Acts 11 and 26.
Wait, can I say
I'm going to show you a true Christian.
Acts chapter 11, verse 26. And when he had found him, he brought him into Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people.
These are the apostles.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
So the only Christians were the true followers of Christ. Go from there to St. John 4 and 19.
Yep.
John chapter 4, verse 19. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain.
This is a woman of Samaria. Go ahead.
Our fathers,
Which thought she was a Jew, but the Lord, a transplanted Jew. Go ahead.
our fathers worshipped in this mountain. And ye say that in Jerusalem is a place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews.
So what you got to understand is when I play the rest of these clips, particularly the Ted Cruz clip, Tucker Carlson is now has this information swirling in his mind. He said, "You guys are depressing me." Yeah, I bet you are depressed when you hear this type of news. I think years ago we used to here in Vegas we used this phrase "bad news for you, good news for us." Okay, and a lot of people don't like that. Okay, I used to even use it amongst the 2/3 people that just we don't know, but it just says if this is what you believe in, it's bad news for you, but it's good news for us. Okay, because this is what, and then we go through the scriptures and brothers run the scriptures down. And you're like, damn. I mean, this is way back when we were on the strip, but just saying like this is how it goes. Especially if you're a heathen, it's bad news for you, good news for us. But a lot of times, and even here, we would laugh because people's vacations get ruined coming to Vegas and running into us and choosing to dialogue with us. Okay? Then they'd be like, dang, well, you better hope you're not a Edomite. You better hope you're not a heathen. Better hope you're an Israelite. Your line goes back because we're scattered. We try to not miss that point as the apostle hasn't missed it either. But continuing on.
Him making that statement for salvation is of the Jews, he excluded her. Why? Because she was not a real Jew. Go ahead.
But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth.
Go ahead.
For the Father seeketh such to worship him.
True worship.
God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Go ahead.
The woman said unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I that speak unto thee am he.
And he said he admitted that he was the Messiah. Go ahead.
And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he taught with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest thou with her? The woman then left her water pot and went away into the city, and said to the men, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ? Then they went out of the city and came unto him. In the meanwhile his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said to them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of.
Let's go back to the 19th verse. All right. Go back to the point, because salvation is of the Jews.
Right. John chapter 4, verse 22. Ye worship, ye know not what.
Ye worship, ye know not what. This is what the Christ said, the black Christ said to this, she would probably be an Ethiopian woman, okay? Because you have a group of Colossian Jews over there. Do you know what the word Colossian means? It means false. I believe it's Latin, okay? Now what happened was, going back maybe 20 years ago, we, the real Jews, started waking up. So I believe to counteract that, the so-called Jews in Israel said, let's allow these Ethiopians to come into Israel and say, here are the black Jews. But they're not the black Jews.
Let me ask you two questions.
Go ahead.
One, what's in your group?
We're Israelites. Israelites. Yep.
Second, what denomination did you grow up in?
Not just one denomination.
That's right.
Because my parents went from one church to this to that. So they jumped all over the place.
But Protestant denominations? Christian denominations?
Protestant, Baptist, Methodist, Jehovah Witness. You was raised as a Jehovah Witness.
Jehovah Witness, yeah.
Jehovah Witness, that's what we call it. But we found out through studying the scripture that we are the Israelites. We are the lost. Give me Matthew's 10, 5, and 6.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 5.
You know what that says. I'm gonna see if he says anything about World War. But now that he's been introduced to who the Israelites are and what this organization, as he says it is, right, quote end quote. Now he can go right on YouTube and find it. And this was years ago. This is something, maybe not even 2010. Like this might be 08, 09. I don't remember exactly, but this was years ago. It might be after 2010, but maybe 2012 at the latest, something around that. But yeah, years ago. So From there, that's enough. I'll put the link in the description for this, Lord willing, I remember. But let's go to the next video. Okay, and this is I believe it's a 2-part video, but this is with Vladimir Putin. And now you can start to see, I mean, I was trying to find the clip where he asked him a question, but you can tell by his answer. And I remember it, and I couldn't, I was skimming through the full interview and couldn't pinpoint it in a timely manner. So, because it's just a small clip of what he asked him, and it may be toward the middle or the end. I don't remember. I don't recall anymore. But he answered the question, and you can get the point of it. And if you really want to look for it, it's worth watching the full interview. I watched it back when it was live. We're fresh and brand new a few years back. But let's play it. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Not for monetary gain or value, simply for educational purposes. All right. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
As for religion in general, it's not about external manifestations. It's not about going to church every day or banging your head on the floor. It is in the heart. And our culture is so human-oriented.
So do you see the supernatural at work as you look out across what's happening in the...
So you see the question, because once you hear about the Hebrew Israelites, and I'm pretty sure he went and he was so like the ideas that the apostles were breaking down to him hit him so deep he wouldn't look. This is what his job to do, especially when he was back at Fox, and I'm sure it's part of probably what got him into that position and what continues to propel him further on, being able to do research and look things up and have references, and that's part of journalism. Okay, and so he probably continued following the apostles and continued watching. And when you watch, here's the thing that's beautiful about the truth, especially with a great millstone group. You start to watch and understand context when you talk to different types of people all over the world, as a Tucker Carlson has. Okay, you don't just form your ideas of where they're coming from because you heard a inflaming statement. You just take that, and you lose sight of the big picture of what they're trying to say. He listens enough to try to hear their perspective, and then as you'll see in the Ted Cruz, which I'm not going to play a lot of it, but in the Ted Cruz interview, you see that he actually was touching on certain points that were made because he's like, it seems like you're just avoiding the answer to the question about referencing AIPAC and so on and so forth. But yeah, so he had the ability to watch, and I think he watched a while. He may still watch. I would believe he'll still watch if he can still, which I'm sure you can find us on YouTube. And then once you get to a Great Millstone page, you'll be able to link and find the apostles. Okay, through the algorithm or whatever the case may be now. But yeah, I think he watches. And because we know the elites watch, we can tell all these different little those prophets of doom, that they have, in Washington and so on and so forth. We know that they're watching us as well. That's where they're getting it from, because they're like, damn, we saying it, damn, and then we see these guys out there saying it, and they're also saying these other things. Okay, so you can't deny the influence that the Hebrew Israelites have had. All right, so you can hear this in this question. I'll back it just a tad.
Look out across what's happening in the world now. Do you see God at work? Do you ever think to yourself, these are forces that are not human?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. My opinion is that the development of the world community is in accordance with the inherent laws.
Which just proves he don't understand what's happening. Okay, which is Ezekiel 38. Okay, it said, I will get it. Okay, I'm just grabbing a couple of scriptures, not too many, and I'm not going to go very deep into these, but just tying this in to the influence of the Hebrew Israelites, particularly Tucker Carlson meeting the apostles of Great Millstone. I truly do believe that he's been influenced with the things he heard the day he met him, and now he's starting to see deeper in the way he's asking these questions and seeing if people are in tune with it, because I think it affected him. Right? And this is Ezekiel 38. And this is why you would ask a question like this after you've seen a breakdown, especially of the apostles. And I'm just saying it this way. It could be anybody, a Great Millstone, but the apostles breakdown through the Spirit Yahweh Bashim Shai of Ezekiel the 38th chapter. I'll start up at verse 2. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, all you have to do is grab an ancient map of Gog and Magog. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, explains it all right there. Okay, from Gog, Magog, right? Kazakhstan, they have that written right above it, which Uzbekistan, we know all of those go right into that land of Russia, okay? All up there, and I'm saying Russia, but those surrounding USSR nations, okay? It's the continent it's speaking of, okay? And it's not the ancient people that once lived there, because that was Japhet. It's now a sect of Edomites that live up there, all right? In that land, and that's who that scripture is referencing. All right, and it says, and say, back in Ezekiel 38 and 3, it says, Thus saith the Lord power Yahweh, which is the real name of the Heavenly Father, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, which you saw those lands, okay? You saw those lands up there on the map. Go back and pause or look it up. Right, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And that's what Tucker Carlson was referring to, is a God at work that's doing this. Okay, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy. I will control you through the Holy Spirit. Well, through my spirit to make you do what I want you to do. And I will bring thee forth in all thine army and horsemen, and horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Okay, what's that talking about? Your armies and your armory, the thing that you have in your military. Okay, Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, and all of them with shield and helmet, building up those smaller nations from Joel the 3rd chapter. Let the weak now say I am strong. They providing them with military, but then he's also protecting them, and that's what Iran has been looking at. Like, hey, why do you think Iran has the Kalashnikov up there? All right, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar and the North Quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Gomer is Turkey, which you can see that in, I believe that was in the map. Let me look one more time. Okay, see it right there. Meshech, Tubal, Gomer, Beth Togomar. Okay, right there with the Turkey in the yellow, right? So you can see it. Libya, this is pretty much breaking it down right there. Okay, Persia, Iran. Okay, you see? And it's just one that I saw that had the word Magog, but it's telling you the ancient lands back then. And we see Israel right there as well, right? Proverbs 21, also to back that up. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh, right? As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Okay, so he's making Putin do things that Putin don't even understand. Matter of fact, if I go over a chapter and down a little bit, it'll say right here, man, verse 24, Proverbs 20:24, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So Putin won't understand. Okay, that goes for DJ over there, Mr. Trump. It goes for him as well. It goes for all these the Iranian okay, I forgot it. Alamania, so whatever his name is. It goes for all these people in the earth. Okay? Nobody's moving on their own accord. It's all moving according to the will of the Heavenly Father. All right? We're just the ones that have submitted ourselves to that will, but we were subject to that will, and Lord willing, I'm of the elect, but either way. All right? For those that can understand that. Now, let's go back. So I'll play it from here.
Look out across what's happening in the world now. Do you see God at work? Do you ever think to yourself, these are forces that are not human?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. My opinion is that the development of the world community is in accordance with the inherent laws, and those laws are what they are. It's always been this way in the history of mankind. Some nations and countries rose, became stronger and more numerous, and then left the international stage, losing the status they had accustomed to. It's been anything like the Roman Empire in the history of mankind. As for religion, rose, became stronger and more numerous, and then left the international stage, losing the status they had accustomed to. It seems that there has never been anything like the Roman Empire in the history of mankind. As for religion in general,
Ooh, that was good. So let's I think there's a part 2 to this. Let me see if I can grab it.
See God at work? Do you ever think to yourself, these are forces that are not human?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. My opinion is that the development of the world community is in accordance with the inherent laws, and those laws are what they are. It's always been this way in the history of mankind. Some nations and countries rose, became stronger and more numerous, and then left the international stage, losing the status they had accustomed to. It seems that there has never been anything like the Roman Empire in the history of mankind. Nevertheless, the potential of the barbarians gradually grew, as did their population. In general, the barbarians were getting stronger and begun to develop economically, as we would say today. This eventually led to the collapse of the Roman Empire and the regime imposed by the Romans.
You see God.
Which we talk about this all the time. This is Revelation the 18th chapter. Excuse me, the 13th chapter, where it talks about the first beast before it and then the beast that rise up after it. That's what he's slightly referencing. Okay? And like, I'm not gonna go into it, but just to mention that, all right? There's videos on going into that all over Great Millstone. Google Great Mill or go to the search engine in YouTube, put in GMS, the first beast, Revelation 13. Any of that, and you'll run into it. All right, and they'll break it down. Okay, not that I don't have videos on it, but simply saying this is about Tucker Carlson seeing the influence and then the biblical references that you can hear in these conversations happening now. Okay, all right, now we're in Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson interview. I'll play a few minutes of this. Like I said, fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. That's why it's still on the screen here, but you can pick up some of these elements, because one thing you can do, and especially if you're able now to see how geopolitics and biblical prophecy are lining up. Okay, you can, like, once you heard the breakdown, you almost can't unhear it. Well, you can't unhear it unless the Lord takes it from you. Okay, but he's on a stage, talking about Tucker Carlson is on a stage where he knows now, because he said he was a Christian. He believed, in the Christianity or whatever. So he's sitting back and putting these pieces together, especially when the topic of Israel comes up, and when the topic of World War, because he mentioned that in this. Said, well, we're at the brink of war with Iran, and I don't know if this was before or after, but check it out. It's a good watch. I listened to the whole thing, and I'll listen to it again. When I saw it in pieces the other day, but I listened to the whole thing again last night. I think I might have a small piece at the end I didn't catch, but yeah. So this is what you got to understand. When you listen to these things, your mind should be tapping in to biblical prophecy, biblical events, and things that they're referencing, as well as things that come to mind through the Spirit, okay, that can be applied, that you, as someone that studies the Bible, should now be able to put these things into pieces and see. So when the Cold War comes up, you should be able to figure those things out. When these riots come up and martial law come up, your mind should be moving to all these different situations. All right, but without further ado, let's watch what he says.
AIPAC recipients. But now we are on the verge of joining a war.
Here we go.
And I just want to be clear about why we're doing this. All right, so... And let's get into Iran momentarily.
Let me speed it up, though.
But you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why. So let me tell you why. No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. Okay, Tucker, words matter. Uh-huh. And you know that. Uh-huh. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate. You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug abuse on the street. My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding. You're the one who said it, not me. So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why. Okay. And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things. Those who bless the government of Israel? Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my. You pull out the phone and use the.
It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting a Bible phrase you don't have context for, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker,
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one.
And it's funny because Ted Cruz knows he has to land this plane because a lot of his supporters are Christians and do know where that's at and may even share the same belief. But if he can't land it with an explanation, it's his job to be able to land that for his supporters. Okay, and Tucker's hinging on that he don't know. That's why you have to, even as someone as a Tucker Carlson, you have to look into these things and study these things. Okay, and us, this being our primary source of our belief, we have to really stay into it as well. Okay, and really dig deep and study to show thyself approved. All right.
Because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Hold on. Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And
what does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's...
Now and I'm going to pause it right there because he understands, after speaking to the apostles, there may be different views on who Israel is. He may even be conflicted about who it is. You know? Because there's a group of guys out there, that really, these so-called black and Hispanic guys out there, and the native guys, or, whatever he may say, in behind closed doors or in his own mind even, that really believe that they're the real people. Then they gave me, a full breakdown of why they believe they're the real people. Okay, so he has to make Ted Cruz stand on that. Okay, but on the understanding, because Christians don't have a breakdown to why the people over in the Holy Land are the people. They don't have a breakdown, and their understanding and their breakdown of it. You go to Balfour and all of these other things, declarations and so on and so forth, but they don't have a biblical breakdown that they're the people. Okay, and Tucker Carlson probably picked that up from the apostles and watching the Hebrew Israelites, is what I'm imagining. But let's see what else it says.
What Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
And see, that's why the apostles break that down. It's a people before it's a place. We're still Israel. So-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and the Israelite foreigners are still the Israelites. We're still Israel. So when you say that, that's why it's important that we teach and say that phrase as well. It's a people before it's a place. Edom is a people before it's a place. The land is named after the people, not the people named after the land. Okay, but that's what happened there. Because they moved into that place, they came down there and took it over, doesn't mean that they're the people that belong there. And they can just put the name on, and so all fit all of a sudden. Then the apostles even said they brought in some Ethiopians, some Falashas, okay, to be in there and say, see, look, here they go. Okay, but then we're the speckled bird and so on and so forth. They use all these other things to try to twist what it says. But there's a spirit in our people that makes the difference, okay? Anyway, saying all that to say, that's why I say, is it the border? Is it the people that run the government? That's why he wants him to clearly define what it is, and you can't. You Christians don't have a clear breakdown. I just had a conversation with some guys about that. They don't have a clear breakdown to why the people that are in the Holy Land now are the real people, especially with what the things that are going on. Because they're starting to learn that once they start down that path, they're like, now I'm cornered. Because this is the problem. Once you start down the path, it's like, okay, well, as far as prophecy, where's the Lord at? If those are the people, why are there still wars on the planet? Because we can go to that scripture. And where's the Lord at? Where's King David at? Well, King David is David Rothschild or whatever. Okay, let's say that's true. But why are there still wars? All of this has to fit. Okay? Where's Jesus standing up, using their terms and what they believe, but those people over there don't even believe in the Messiah. Okay, so it's like what is lining up? So what is actually lining up that those are the people? And Amalek is on trial. We believe that that's who that is over there. Amalek, the Dukes of Edom, one of the Dukes of Edom. We believe that that's who that is in that land over there. All right. Now, do I think Tucker Carlson knows that? I don't know, but let's finish what he is saying.
Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a Democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about
Yes.
in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think
It was recreated just over 70 years ago. Okay, showing you, he knows when that time was. It's not quite 80 years, but he's talking about from the time of the Balfour, 1948. Okay, it was recreated, but the problem was it recreated by whom? Because it's supposed to be established by Yahweh Shai and by the Most High. Okay, and there was supposed to be order, but they can't put all that. It doesn't. See, if you don't know the Bible, you don't know all that goes there. Let's finish up just a little more.
People understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I
don't remember the scriptural citation. But okay, it's
like Genesis 16 or something like that. But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is,
all right, Tucker, you keep interrupting me before I finish my sentence.
Important to know.
And it's even funnier because I saw a Christian break it down like, well, they're talking about Abram back in Genesis 12, and that's pretty much where it's at, though. Okay, but he was referring to the Israelites when you go down and, you go into the law and all of that, and Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is the beginning, and, then even, reference certain key points, when the blessing that Isaac gave in the 27th chapter unto Jacob and that he thought he was giving to Esau, that Isaac was given unto Jacob and thought he was given unto Esau, right? And so on and so forth. Okay, but they don't ever put that dominion as this time now. Okay, that Esau would have dominion on the earth through Amalek and all and the rest of his, of the nation of Edom. Anyway.
What you're talking about? I don't know what you're. So you're saying as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for me what my vote motivation is.
This local program in Clark County.
I'm explaining for me what my vote motivation is.
But okay, so I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology?
You're going back, am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
if you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have a conversation.
Condescending. You're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about, and I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry, I want to be polite.
That is, for me, a personal motivation, but I also, what I was about to say, I don't believe my personal faith, not everyone who I represent is a Christian. It's not an argument for me to give that we should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel. That is a personal motivation for me, but I don't think it is the reason we should. The reason that I am the leading defender of Israel is because Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East, an incredibly troubled part of the world, and supporting Israel benefits America. And the clearest illustration of that is what is happening right now. Let me just make this point, and then,
and then I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently, we talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic, because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And
that's good enough. So I'm gonna close it there. You know, like I said, interesting watch. Very, very good, interesting watch. If you haven't seen it, it's a few days old now. But yeah, it took me a little while to put all those pieces together. But Lord willing, this was edifying. Okay, and we're gonna keep our eyes on this. And we see them volleyballing missiles back and forth, the threats, and we've destroyed them, and then they're giving warnings, to get out before they destroy some of their targets and all these things, and they're tiptoeing still. Like I'm saying, it's about chess, and they're playing a masterful chess game, but they're playing it in real life with human lives here. Okay, and what are they doing? They're strategically going, but they don't want to, except for Netanyahu. He's the only guy, which I'll use the name, but anyway, that guy is the only one that doesn't care about international law and war crimes. He's just doing what he's doing, and then he'll use the Bible to back what he's saying. Okay, use it incorrectly to back what he's saying. And we've seen that happen as well. I didn't put that in this video, but like I said, there's videos on it. So Lord willing, is edifying, giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bashim El Shai Bashim El Chakodash. Double honor to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone. Greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you elect. To the next one, Shalom.